Hi, everybody. This is me, Anaconda La Sabrosa, and I am here today with my very good friend, Miami Minx.
Hello.
And we are here today to talk to you about the beautifulness of being Latinx. On est des belles personnes qui sommes des drag performeurs. Donc, de mon côté, mon nom c'est Anaconda La Sabrosa, like I was saying. And I've been doing drag for 800 years now. So I'm pretty much an old person doing drag, which is not true. I'm still young at heart. That's what old people say, but yes.
And on my end, I'm a burlesque performer. I've been doing it for 4 years. I'm a drag performer who does more, instead of lip syncing, I take my clothes off on stage and present my beautiful self to people. So yeah.
It's very hot. If you haven't seen Miami perform, get ready to be sweating because their performances are really hot and sensual and really, really caliente.
But not today. Today, you don't get that package today.
No, today we are playing our Diva Fantasies. Yes. So we were asked to come here by Fierté Montréal parce qu'ils ont dit, Anaconda, on t'aime tellement. Depuis le temps que tu existes, on devrait te voir tellement plus souvent. Mais qu'est-ce que nous pouvons faire pour faire ça? And then we said, like, well, why don't you ask me to talk for about 2 days in a row, and I will just talk with no sense. And that's what's happening today. So welcome. It's my new talk show. It's not really a talk show.
Yeah, so I guess we'll start off with the first topic that we're going to be doing. I'm going to grab it out of my wig.
Oh.
Tokenism in our community as Latinx performers and in queer spaces and even outside of queer spaces, just being sort of viewed as a sort of as pieces like symbolically having us around but not actually taking any action
yes,
behind it.
Of course. And just to be clear, and we all are understanding each other, when we're talking about tokenism, we're talking about the fact that often POCs and Black people and BIPOC people are asked to be part of a show in order for people to say it's okay, we have a diversity show, and it's like 90% white performers, and then there's like a Latino or a Black.
Yeah.
And that is like their quota. So that's what we call tokenism, saying, okay, but you're there, so it's fine. We have like our quota of like having minorities represented in the show.
It feels very like empty and performative, like you're just kind of doing it to just kind of check a box.
Yep.
We have the brown person there, and now we're not like, it's all good. But it just feels very like empty and not actually.
Yes. It's like a bad grinder hookup. It lets you empty on the inside and on the outside.
Yeah.
Sorry for the under 18 years old.
Yeah, I think I wonder, like, because I think from oftentimes people, at least in the performing spaces, are trying to. They're not coming from like a bad place of like, they mean well, I think, like, oh, well, we want to include people, but maybe they're not doing all the efforts that you need, or maybe they're the excuse, oh, there's not enough performers who are POC, or and also like having intention is one thing. If I mean to like, I didn't mean to hit you with a car and break your leg, but I still broke your leg.
And so you did it anyways,
bitch. So like, you know what I mean? I think it is important to, I didn't mean malice with my token a POC person, but you still do cause harm, and I think it's important for the people who are producers and people who are hiring people and artists and in power need to kind of be aware of that and know how to take further action than just like, oh, I didn't mean to like, I didn't mean anything bad, but actually that's not what you meant, is what you actually did in the end.
Yes, and pour moi, c'est surtout le fait, une chance que ça se fait beaucoup moins souvent maintenant, mais avant, il y avait beaucoup de soirées thématiques qui étaient appelées des soirées internationales. Mais quand tu regardes les guests ou les invités de la soirée, ce sont tous des blancs et oups, il y a moi. Et oups, il y a une autre drague qui va être noire. Mais tous les restes vont faire. C'est quelque chose qui laisse un arrière-goût dans ma bouche.
Ouais.
Et ça me fait sentir mal. Et à chaque fois qu'il y avait ce genre de soirée qui se faisait, ben, il fallait que je dise aux gens qui étaient en train de préparer le spectacle, please be mindful. Parce que je veux pas que ça soit un spectacle qui va devenir un festival de préjugés et qu'on se moque des personnes de couleur.
Bon, et puis en plus, moi, des fois, genre, ça met tout le travail ou la pression sur nos épaules, et puis aussi dans les spectacles, comme qui d'autre va dire ça? Ben, c'est comme nous, mais des fois, on a comme, surtout dans un contexte genre de travail, genre on est embauché par X personnes, on a peur de parler du sujet et de ne pas se faire embaucher plus tard dans le futur.
Girl, if I can talk about this for a second.
Ouais, please.
OK? Parce que ça, c'est quelque chose qui est vraiment particulier, OK? C'est la chose qui est la plus difficile à faire parce que c'est un sujet qui est très tabou, qui est très sensible. Et de dire à des personnes blanches, écoutez, vous faites ça, ça me fait sentir mal, je me sens pas bien, est-ce que vous pouvez arrêter de le faire? Ils vont tout de suite être sur la défensive et vont tout de suite sortir les ah, mais je suis pas raciste. Ah, mais non, mais moi je fais ça. C'est pas de l'appropriation, c'est de l'appréciation culturelle. And it's like, no, it's not the same thing.
Well, and I find that often people, in general, outside of like the arts, just in general, it's hard. People don't like having fingers pointed at them. A lot of people have egos. A lot of people don't want to feel like they're being attacked, and it just takes a lot of effort to confront those issues et réfléchir. Et genre, like, mijoter dans ça, that's harder, actually. So the easier to do is just deflect. I don't want to hear about it. I'm not racist. You're being very sensitive. Like, I think you're way out of line. Like, I'm not bad.
You are.
You are, yeah.
It's almost like that. But, and the real thing is, people laugh when I used to say, I don't want to speak up about this issue or this issue because it has repercussions on me.
Yeah.
And ce que les gens ne comprennent pas, c'est que souvent, faire des confrontations comme ça peut affecter énormément la santé mentale des gens. Et ça, c'est quelque chose que les minorités visibles et ethniques vivent continuellement à chaque jour. Et selon le type de minorité qu'on peut être, ça peut être vraiment difficile. Si je pense à tous les événements les crimes haineux qu'il y a eu dernièrement, pas seulement au Québec, mais au Canada.
But yeah, no, so like, it's just going back to kind of, basically, it does feel like we should say something as we're the ones who are being directly affected by it, but then there's other dynamics around it. And it's not just as easy as going to the person who hired you and calling them out because you're scared. It really should be the producers who should be doing all that work before they make the error and then put us, genre, qui nous met dans des situations, genre, difficiles. But if ever it does happen like that, then I think other people who are not POCs should also be on our side and kind of speaking, because often it's us who are going to get like shit for it, or who are going to get have problems because of this.
Of course.
And not other communities, I feel, as performers.
And also, often when we have this kind of exchanges, les gens ont tendance à dire ah, mais c'est pas tous les Noirs qui sont comme ça, ou c'est pas tous les Latinos qui sont comme ça, qui vont dire que c'est pas correct de faire ce genre de numéro. Ou c'est pas.
Right, yeah.
So, qu'est-ce qu'ils sont en train de faire? C'est d'invalider le point de vue de la personne de couleur.
Ouais.
Et ça, c'est quelque chose qui rend la chose encore plus difficile parce que we are trying to make some changes happen here. But if you all gang up against the small minority that we are, it's not gonna get things to go forward.
Yeah,
and I have lost many bookings because I spoke my mind. about certain shows or certain performers that did things that weren't appropriate, and yeah, you lose some income, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Because in my point of view, I don't want to be associated with people that don't necessarily respect me.
Yep. Even if they indirectly disrespect you, right? There's been shows or festivals that that I was gonna do and that I backed out of doing because of something that happened to another indigenous or to an indigenous person, and so you kind of. And you want to do I wanted to do the festival, I wanted to do the thing, and I was in it, and you apply, and you have like all these things you prepare, but then, I agree, I don't want to take associated with that production.
Yeah.
Even if like in the short term, it's like something that's like good for me, it's like, no, that's not the point actually.
Because we have to remember too that we are personas, we are drag performers, we are burlesque performers, but we have a prestige, as in like, we have built some sort of reputation over the years that we've been performing, right? And being active on social media, in the Montreal scene, outside of Montreal, because guess what? We're international bitches. That deserves a drink from TD. They are only paying us in water. That is not true. Please don't use this footage. But no, what I was saying is that
you still want to associate
with, I don't want to be associated with people that don't respect me or disrespect my art or my culture.
And yeah, it's just a fine line of like knowing where it's, I don't know, I guess you have to ask yourself, like, there's just consequences for whatever you do, I suppose, good and bad, and I suppose it's very nuanced.
Oh yes, it is. It's because it's never as easy as black or white.
Yeah.
There's more than 50 shades of gray.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I guess with tokenism, or I guess in essence, like, that is a problem in itself, and sometimes I guess as a solution, maybe I would like to have people, whenever something gets called out, I want to feel like I'm heard. And of course, I want things to be fair and not just because I say it, then it's fact or true. I think there is a degree of like, a fairness that has to be called, but just I want to feel heard. Anyway, it's bad anyway, but it just seems like it seems to be lose-lose in either situation.
Yes, it's a very uncomfortable one. Now, we're going to be jumping towards our next subject, but I don't know what it is.
It's going to, well, here. Well, this is where I can look at.
Can someone tell me what our next cue card is?
Yes.
As
representation, the lack of representation.
Oh, this falls right into the lap of the thing of tokenism, into the lack of representation of POCs in the media.
Yep.
Which goes again with the same kind of vibe, right? And not too long ago, before the pandemic, or was this during the pandemic? They were talking about producing Brooklyn Nine-Nine in Quebec, in French. But the original story is about two Latinas or one Latina, whatever, who is an officer, a police officer. And when they did the cast and they announced the cast in Quebec, there was no Latino actors booked in that gig, when there are so many talented Latinx actors that are just waiting for that opportunity to get that spotlight and launch their career.
And the original story had
a lot of Latinx performers and a lot of POC, because it was based in New York. Yeah. And New York is like Montreal in a way, because we have a very diverse group of groups.
Absolutely.
Of groups.
Yeah.
And of cultures, of course. But yeah. And by not having enough people that look like us in the media growing up, it's very hard.
Yes.
Trying to identify yourself with other people. It's like having gay characters on TV for the first time. Like, do you remember the first time you saw two men kissing on TV?
I do, actually. It was like, I remember it. It was in Christina Aguilera's
Beautiful.
Yeah, so that was the first time. My grandmother was there visiting from Colombia, and I was watching it. It was on the MTV. It was just
Yeah.
out there, and then there's a scene where these two gay guys, white gay guys, but still gay, queer people kissing, and then I'm like, my grandmother's there. I'm like,
Escándalo, girl, escándalo. No, yeah, no, but it's the same for me. Like I remember, I was with my mother. We were watching Will and Grace, and then Jack and Will steal a kiss that's supposed to be a smooch, and that's it. But that was it. That was the first kiss, and it made history, and
Yeah.
it made things easier for gay people growing up. With
Just
my
to
generation,
just to
your
connect with some whatever you see. And I think this is very like across the board with human beings. Like you like to you connect with what you're familiar with.
Yes.
It's just that minority groups have less of that in media, right? You
Yes.
have whether it be, I mean, if you're like Latinx like me and queer and feminine,
Oof.
those are like things you don't really see, like those kind of characters, or I didn't see them that much growing up. And when you did, or when I did see them, they were probably just white and very like stereotypically, homosexual people, right?
Yeah, it was like the high femme real caricature of what is expected to be a gay person.
Yeah.
Mais moi, j'ai un message pour le Québec. Moi, j'aime le Québec. J'adore le Québec. J'aimerais tellement qu'on puisse retrouver plus de personnes de couleur dans tous les médias. Parce que qu'est-ce qui fait du Québec le Québec? Ce n'est pas seulement être des Québécois de souche, mais c'est aussi d'accueillir et d'interagir avec la quantité énorme d'immigrants qu'on a au Québec et qui fait la richesse du Québec et qui fait en sorte que la qualité de vie des gens est si magnifique ici. Alors, pourquoi ne pas avoir plus de personnes de couleur dans tous les médias?
Ouais.
Because I'm tired of seeing the same people get all of the spotlight.
Ouais. Puis, ouais, c'est ça, en fait. Je pense qu'au Québec, moi, ça fait 11 ans que j'habite Montréal avant de déménager de Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Puis, c'est vrai qu'il y a. Montréal, en tout cas, c'est très divers.
Multiethnique.
Multiethnique. Mais sinon, je pense qu'il faut encore plus. De la part des gens en pouvoir, ces gens. It's not. It's like the people who are hiring, who could hire anyone, right? Is often not like minority groups.
No, they will hire first the white people.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but not when you're in the other side where you lose opportunities because you are not white.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's important to have more and more projects like c'est quoi la série qui était à Télé-Québec, qui était à Netflix? Qui parle de où il y a une fille qui était sur l'aide sociale. C'est pas important. But anyways, il y avait beaucoup. Les personnages principaux, il y avait une blanche, tu avais une noire, tu avais un gars maghrébin. C'était super. Puis c'était une production du Québec. Et quand j'ai vu ça, I was, oh my God, finally we can see some people.
Yeah.
Because we have to remember too that accents are sexy AF. And like when people talk French, but they have a different background, it adds, ça rajoute un peu d'accent et je trouve que c'est très sexy.
Yeah. But then there's also, and this is like maybe a little bit off topic, but sometimes there's the other part of that where it's happened to me where I think often non-POC people like will, in an effort to connect with me, they'll first ask me like where I'm from, which I know what that question means. And actually, when I like quand on me demande d'où je viens, ben ma question c'est, ben je viens de Miami, fait que c'est là où j'ai grandi, où je suis né. But I know that question is like chargé with more.
Yeah.
And then they sort of try to, they put like, where are you from? D'où tu viens vraiment? I'm like, OK, ben mes parents sont colombiens. OK. Et de là, comme, oh, OK, genre, ils commencent à me parler en espagnol. Ah, je suis en Colombie une fois. There's like, il y a comme, so they, c'est comme cool, exciting pour eux, genre, de connecter avec moi, mais c'est un côté très superficiel. Parce que moi, je ne suis pas juste mon accent, d'où je viens, ma peau de couleur, you know? So it's tricky because there is something nice about, like, yes, it's something different, but faut juste ne pas seulement connecter like avec ça parce qu'on est plus que
Oui, définitivement. Oui, I mean,
you know. Tu parles bien. Oh my God. Tu parles, like you speak French so well. Like
ah, ton français est tellement bon pour quelqu'un d'immigrant comme toi.
yeah, I moved here 11 years ago, lady. Like
I had time to learn French. But
Ouais.
see, and this is a good thing because, yes, you always hear, oh, but immigrants never make an effort to learn French. Listen, la preuve est ici, la preuve est ici.
je suis
Je
arrivé.
parle français.
Je suis venu de Miami. Ben, une des raisons pour laquelle, à 18, j'ai décidé de déménager de Miami à Québec, à Montréal, c'était parce que je voulais apprendre le français.
Ah oui.
Parce que je connais, ben, à Miami, il n'y a pas ça. Puis genre, moi, j'ai trouvé ça vraiment intéressant et cool, la langue française. Fait que, OK, je vais déménager à Montréal, apprendre le français. Et puis, yeah, like, anyway, souvent, c'est ça comme tu viens de dire, oh, ben, tu sais, les immigrants, genre, font pas l'effort ou whatever, genre. Et tout ça aussi, c'est comme, pour, like, to assimilate us anyway. Like, all of this is, like, les gens, ils sont comme en colère, ben, ou les gens ici, des fois, ils se fâchent parce qu'on n'est pas assez comme eux.
Ouais.
Même des fois, genre, mon français n'est pas assez bon anyway. Like, no matter what I do. Une fois, j'étais dans le village, puis on m'a reproché d'avoir un accent trop français à l'époque. Fait que je parlais bien français, mais c'était trop français, selon ce Québécois qui était sous. And I was like, okay, so like, parce qu'à l'époque, moi, je traînais avec beaucoup des Français. So it's like, okay, so I speak French, but I don't speak French how you want me to speak French, and sound Québécois enough to you. So I don't really, you know what I mean? Like it's tricky. Like.
Pour moi, la chose importante, c'est,
Ouais.
est-ce que tu me comprends?
Ouais.
Est-ce que tu réussis à comprendre les mots qui sortent de ma bouche? And this brings me back to Rush Hour 1 or 2. Can you understand the words coming out of my mouth? And it was an iconic moment because I felt very that. When you are immigrant, people always make fun of your accent. And when I was here growing up, I had such a huge, thick accent in French that people would make fun of me at all times. And that's why, for me, it became so important to work on my French pronunciation, my grammar, everything. And I lost some of my Spanish, and now I'm reclaiming my Latinx culture by getting back into my Latinx roots. Et c'est une des choses les plus magnifiques, mais aussi les plus difficiles, parce que en tant qu'immigrant, souvent, c'est comme si on était toujours dans un entre-deux. Tu es dans ta terre d'accueil, mais tu es aussi dans ta terre d'origine. Et des fois, il y a comme un conflit entre les deux, parce que les cultures, tout peut être tellement conflictuel, les valeurs, qui te demandent, comme tu dis justement, mais tu n'es pas nécessairement colombien, tu n'es pas nécessairement des États-Unis, tu n'es pas nécessairement canadien. Qu'est-ce que tu es? What are you? Et ça, c'est une question qui peut être triggering pour plusieurs personnes, parce que c'est triggering.
But you know, I think it's that actually. Like when people, I think a little bit for me anyway, when people ask me like, where am I from? And I know they don't mean like anything wrong, but again, intention is one thing, but what the effect is another. But when they ask me like where I'm from, I almost feel like I still have like identity issues around, because they're asking me, what I feel they're asking is like, what are you? When I get that question,
yeah.
I almost feel like, and then I'm like, well, I am from Miami, but I'm also like Colombian, but I'm also like feel Canadian. And so it's like the easiest answer for me is to say where I was born, which is Miami. But then that doesn't feel like the right answer to me either. So it's a very loaded question.
It is.
It's a very loaded question to ask, but these people who ask, often white people, don't see it that way, and their ignorance, the ignorance there doesn't excuse it. But I get that it's not supposed to be like with malice, but yeah. It feels like,
because it rarely is with malice. No. It's often like because they want to get to know you.
Yeah, of course.
Right? But it's just that it's a weird question to ask. And now we're getting a signal
to wrap. So we're gonna wrap this segment up.
Yes.
Yeah. So kind of went in a couple directions, but
listen, that's life. Life is like a box of chocolate. You never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
Thank you. Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump, yeah.
Yes.
Forrest Gump.
From your hometown, from Miami, right?
There There is it's in Fort Lauderdale, or we have like anyway, we have this like shrimp place in Fort Lauderdale that
Bubba
has
Shrimp.
yeah, you know.
I'm a native. I was born in Miami. Not really.
But yeah, I think so kind of at least on the last topic that we were touching on, yeah, it was
We touch a lot of things.
yeah, it was a couple of things, but I'm trying
I mean,
to like
it's like when we perform, we touch a lot of things, different parts of the same body.
well, often myself is just like a little caress.
Of course, because you start from the tippy toe and then you evolve into other things, just like us, because we're natural.
Yeah, so I guess we can kind of go to
The next subject, that is,
subject, which is was it queer? Let's do a queer, just being queer as Latinos.
yes,
Yeah.
because this is really important topic, people.
Um,
Listen, this needs a proper introduction. We need to take a sip of water together,
some tea.
some boiling tea. Okay. Thank you, TV. Okay, yes. You know, when you grow up as a queer Latinx person, it's hard.
You don't even know that you're that yet.
Yeah,
You
because
don't,
exactly
you don't even know that you're that.
when I used to be a young, tiny little boy,
Mhm.
I remember praying to God that I wouldn't be gay. And it was such a moment that was hard, soul crushing for me, because c'était tellement difficile de se dire ma famille ne va pas m'accepter parce que je crois être gay. And that changes the whole dynamic. And I think it's
When you know it's a obviously you don't know it then, but like it's a losing battle. You're obviously gay. You're gay. That's what it is, right?
yeah, but you don't want to be gay because you don't want to be associated with what gay is.
A sinner, like scum of the earth, like or you see even I guess as you get older, you kind of like maybe being even like 12 years older or a teenager, you kind of start seeing what happens to other like queer
Oh yeah,
members of your group, and especially like growing up in Miami, right? Like Miami is a pretty open. It's pretty open Miami. We have a big pride there and all of this, but it's still very Latino, like Latinx, and our culture is very conservative.
it is.
Right,
Maria
and so-
Purísima.
It was like my mom sent me a message the other day about these two guys who like went and like just beat up two Latinos, beat up another straight Latinos, beat up like one like Latinx people beating up like one queer person, like and so it, you know, so Miami I think is open, but also there's a lot of work that has to be done there, and I think a lot of it is tied to like just how conservative like our cultures can be.
Yes, because for myself, I know that in my household we were really Catholic, and that was also part of the divide of the queer identity that was forming. Because you're a teenager, you're in a different country, there's all these hopes and dreams waiting for you to become, to have a wife and have kids
Yeah.
and continuer la lignée, you know, like keep on going and have children so the name can perpetuate and be glamorous as ever. No, it's not that. And like, yeah, for me it was such a shock. But for me, what is different between the personal side and the more of the community side is when we are trying to promote some of our events, because we both perform at Latinx Burlesque Cabaret. So we do shows here and there. During the pandemic, we couldn't do that many, but stay tuned, because for Pride, we are one of the shows and it's gonna be
Yep.
amazing. But when you're trying to promote the show in different Latinx venues, we often got told, no, you cannot advertise your show
Yeah.
here because it's too queer or there's too much nudity, and those things are not fun.
Well, and often I feel like like you were like you've mentioned this before, where it's been like our own community of like just like Latinx people, not necessarily queer, view what we do as either because it's drag, so you're not supposed to be doing that because you're a guy, you know, shouldn't be dressing up as women, or if in my case, it's that, and also taking my clothes off,
Ay, Dios mío.
right? Or if you're a woman who's who's Latina and taking your clothes off. It's just like these old ideas that are engraved not only in our culture as like Latinx people, but it's just, but it is like it's really in
Yes.
in what we believe or what we're taught to believe, right?
Yes.
Women have a certain role. Men have a certain role.
Yes.
God forbid a man is putting on a wig because that's not his role.
Yes.
And God forbid that a woman is being hypersexual. With men are allowed to be hypersexual in our community, but women, that's a perra, una chandosa, una sucia, like, you know.
And I think lots of, and this is the part I think where we are similar to other cultures, as in like the role of a man and woman are similar in different cultures, and the repercussions are similar in a way, right? Because in our crew we have lots of women that are performers that do burlesque and that have had so many fights in their families because of this.
Yeah.
Because of their art, because burlesque is an art form, just like drag.
Well, but it's an art form, but and all on top of that, it is what's I think the shocking part, because like they're not like then these maybe these women that you're talking about are not like just painting on tableau. That's I think that's an acceptable art form for
Yes.
like maybe our culture, but more so like you're being hypersexual as a woman. You're taking your clothes off
In front of men and
That's-
women
Yeah, that's the issue more so than
that pay for that. Oof, girl. Yeah.
yeah. It took my parents. I mean, it was a bit strange for my parents when I came out to them. I wasn't performing yet, but then I had already been out, and then I started doing the Rocky Horror Picture Show I was doing. That was like my first kind of introduction to performing and all that, and
That's around the same time that we met, actually.
yeah.
Yeah. So around that time, for people who don't know us but want to know the tea about us, it's that. So around that time we met. We're gonna go back to the story.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So, and then, yeah. But I remember, I started doing burlesque, which, yeah, it's pretty racy. Like it's pretty risque. And my parents initially didn't quite get it. My mom didn't really want to see me in makeup. That was really like I was doing like foundation, and she like made me remove it because I was visiting my family in Miami, and I was doing a photo shoot. But anyway, like so there was like a lot of like I had to slowly ease that into them. But then essentially like you're either gonna accept, like to my my Colombian parents, like it was a bit harsh what I told them, but I was like, you guys I'm an adult, you guys are adults. You have a finite time that's left on this planet, probably like 20 years before you pass away. And we could spend that next time not bonding and you only caring about me going to university and like how many languages I speak and the things that are very easy for you to accept as me being like a queer Latinx person. And we can go on and not connecting on anything, or you can like all those things you like about me, which are easy to like, but you also have to like all of me.
Of course.
And then when I said it like that, like you're gonna be dead soon. Like we need to kind of like get you want to bond, and really we can connect and like be close as a family, or not. That's your choice. But you kind of have to like, or I had to anyway, kind of put it that way.
Okay, children, take notes. If you want your parents to accept you, let them know.
Yeah.
You're gonna die soon. Do you want us to have a relationship or not? If you don't, that's fine.
Yeah.
But keep me in the will. Thank you.
Well, that's kind of it. It could be, because I think it's important to connect with people in general, like through vulnerability and and it's very vulnerable for people for my parents to see my art, right? So we can bond on that, right? Going to school, I don't care about that. That's not me being vulnerable. I'm not gonna bond with you, my mom and dad over that, And so yeah, like Anaconda says, if you, that's the way I did it was very Miami or Fabian way to do it, but
very dramatic.
But
and then she slammed the door, and then she walked out, and she twirled with the babe. She said, "Escándalo!" Ah!
Yeah, no, I think it's important to kind of voice that to the people you love and that you want, who you want to love you back, and then the ball is in their court.
Exactly that.
You know, and you put your. I'm open. My heart's here. I'm giving it to you, but you have to come and meet me halfway. Otherwise,
Exactly.
you need those people, like, flush them out. You know.
That's oh, come on, Rain. That's how I felt pretty much in my whole in my post coming out live too. My parents at first weren't okay with it. I was an abomination of God, and I couldn't be fully myself. And at the beginning, they didn't know about drag, and I didn't share my stuff with them because for them it was so foreign,
Yeah.
and they were so uncomfortable with the idea of me being a gay person or a queer person that right now it's just a different thing. Right now I talk to them about my shows and they see that I love doing shows and I love performing and that I'm good at it. I think so.
You are.
People think so too. Okay. You're gonna love me. You're gonna love me. Okay. Yeah. And yeah, no, so now they love it and they know that Anaconda exists. And, you know, sometimes it's good to do what you want. And like, I often found afterwards, I found out that my parents were more afraid for me because they were afraid of how society was going to see me.
Same, yeah.
Much more than the other thing, which is
yeah, I think it sounds like it's similar with my parents, where they were like my parents have come to my shows. When I go to Miami and I perform in the States, they'll come.
Aww.
And they've come here. They've seen me. They've seen you as well. And they really love you. But yeah, no, they were just scared about me, you know, getting hurt by other people. I don't think they know that I wear acrylics, my little fabulous nails. They know it all, and they know what I do. But they're scared when I go back to Miami, especially with this guy who got, like, you know, attacked recently.
With what happened in Pulse in 2012, was it?
Yes. And so that kind of all plays into their minds. So our parents mean well, it sounds. It just takes...
It takes time.
It takes time.
For us, it's important to have the Latinx burlesque community doing shows because if there's not a place for you, you have to make your own place in society. So that's what we're doing slowly but surely. And listen, we're here to stay. So you better get used to it.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's true. It's really, you know, I think a lot of it's basically in our hands to do it because no one's gonna give it to us.
No, we need to take
we have to take our space, you know, and create it, because otherwise we're gonna be just like not having the space at all.
Je pense qu'on a parlé de beaucoup de choses qui sont lourdes, mais la chose la plus lourde reste à alourdir.
Mais il y a encore.
Il y a encore des choses. Là, les gens vont dire, mais là, c'est ces deux latinos-là, genre. Ils font juste chialer tout le long, là. Qu'est-ce qu'ils ont de positif à dire dans la vie? Rien. Tu comprends? Rien de positif. Especially not with the next subject, because we're gonna talk d'un sujet très sérieux. Miami, je te laisse la chance de le prononcer. C'est pas vrai.
Oh
on va parler de...
L'appropriation culturelle.
Parce qu'elle a de la difficulté à dire appropriation, parce qu'il y a trop de... Quand on parle français, le R est très bizarre, OK? People don't necessarily know this, but it's appropriation culturelle.
Alors, j'ai ici une définition très claire pour vous. Alors, c'est l'utilisation par une personne ou un groupe de personnes d'éléments culturels appartenant à une autre culture, généralement minoritaire, d'une manière qui est jugée offensante, abusive ou inappropriée. Je veux être très 100% clear with our viewers about ce que c'est cultural appropriation. Alors,
parce qu'on peut facilement... L'appropriation culturelle peut tellement être large et floue et grand qu'on peut parler de plusieurs choses.
Mettons s'il y a un style de cheveux que chez les femmes noires qu'elles les portent, et que, parce que ça a une grosse culture derrière tout ça, et que Kim Kardashian ou quoi que ce soit commence à la porter comme c'est de la mode, sauf qu'elle ne comprend pas d'où ça vient. Elle peut enlever ses cheveux, cette coiffure noire quand elle veut, tandis que tu vois ce que je veux dire?
Oui, oui, oui.
C'est...
Ça me rappelle une des Kardashians qui a invented wigs, and I was offended.
Qui a inventé les...
She was like, I invented wigs. I wear color from wigs, and I'm
C'est
cool.
Kylie,
I
en
don't
tout cas,
know.
une des
In
filles
the
riches.
Kardashians, which was like, no, people be wearing. On a, les gens portent des perruques depuis des siècles et des siècles, chérie. C'est pas toi qui as inventé la roue.
Ouais.
Mais
C'est un peu ça, en fait. Et souvent, ça se fait sans savoir,
oui,
parce que c'est souvent, quand les gens le savent pas, c'est parce que c'est une tendance, c'est à la mode ou whatever, quoi que ce soit. Et ça peut être genre, même chez les gays, genre, une appropriation de notre culture dans le mainstream qui peut avoir il y a comme deux côtés.
oui,
Tu sais, c'est bien, ben, admettons par exemple, grâce à RuPaul's Drag Race, en étant genre, diffusé sur genre, tous les grosses médias, comme beaucoup plus de gens savent c'est quoi le drag ou une sorte de drag.
oui,
Mais de l'autre côté, genre, ils savent pas vraiment c'est quoi. Je dirais que c'est bien parce que ça nous ouvre comme à quelque chose de nouveau,
exactement.
mais c'est pas juste ça en fait. Like, il y a plus.
Non, et ça me fait penser à après que Drag Race ait été mise sur VH1,
Mhm.
ça l'a tellement changé. Et ça a été une bonne chose parce que oui, les drags ont commencé à avoir un peu plus de reconnaissance. Et si on regarde maintenant, juste dans la dernière année, on a eu Canada's Drag Race, on a eu
Holland's Drag Race,
Holland's Drag Race, Thailand,
Espagne.
Espagne, Down Under. On a Rita Baga qui s'est
Ouais.
rendue en finale de Canada's Drag Race. On a Kiara qui s'est rendue, je ne sais plus combien. Tu sais, des gens qu'on connaît. Ça fait très drôle de les voir à la télé.
Ouais.
Moi, je me rappelle encore du moment où j'ai vu Kiara apparaître quand elle est rentrée dans le workroom, j'étais toute seule chez moi, puis j'étais comme Oh my God, it's Kiara!
C'est tellement weird, mais cool de voir.
Oui, des gens que tu connais, puis tu te
Ouais.
dis comme Oh my God, they did it.
Ouais.
Mais oui, pour revenir à l'appropriation culturelle, c'est vraiment. Souvent, les gens ils se disent Mais oui, mais où est la limite de qu'est-ce qui est de l'appropriation
Ouais.
culturelle et qu'est-ce qui est de l'appréciation culturelle? Parce que c'est vrai, dans un sens, quand on parle d'appropriation culturelle, il y a un côté de on utilise qu'est-ce qui va être propre à cette culture, puis euh, on va faire comme si c'était de nous, right?
Mhm.
Donc les gens vont pas nécessairement vont totalement délaisser des choses. Ils vont s'approprier du ballroom culture,
Ouais.
euh,
Ben, plein de choses, en
plein de
fait,
choses.
que tu peux approprier, mais c'est juste comme, admettons, et souvent, chez les artistes, on prend tellement des inspirations par beaucoup de choses, beaucoup de cultures, beaucoup de références. C'est juste, il faut se demander, est-ce qu'une référence est vraiment nécessaire? Est-ce qu'elle est bonne? Est-ce que ça peut être mal pris par d'autres gens? Il faut juste avoir cet instinct de réfléchir qu'est-ce que tu es en train de créer, la musique. Est-ce que la musique, est-ce que les paroles de la chanson, est-ce que c'est plus comme le fun, comme facile, léger, ou est-ce que ces paroles-là ont plus des meaning derrière? Par exemple, peut-être, admettons, il y a beaucoup de la musique colombienne, genre, ça peut apparaître genre très joyeux et il est, mais en même temps, il y a beaucoup des paroles sombres et sérieux derrière. Fait que quelqu'un qui ne connaît pas la musique ou la chanson va entendre comme la musique happy, puis genre, c'est bien et tout, mais en fait, non, actually. Fait qu'il faut juste vraiment savoir tes références, de quoi tu t'inspires et ouais, pour juste éviter de justement avoir une humeur qui va approprier genre une culture et va faire mal à une public, tu vois.
Et ça me vient de me faire penser à quelque chose d'important. C'est, encore une fois, le message dans la conne de la sabrosa. Tring! Sound effect cue here. Okay, thank you. Um, euh, J'aimerais vous dire, lorsque des personnes, des minorités disent à des Blancs que certaines choses ou certains actes ou actions ou paroles peuvent être mal perçus ou être perçus comme de l'appropriation culturelle, s'il vous plaît, écoutez-nous.
Yeah.
N'essayez pas toujours de dire, oui, mais moi, c'est pas pour... Non.
Yeah.
Non, chérie, si je te dis que fais pas ça, fais-le pas. Merci. Bonsoir.
Et non, mais il y avait, je pense que des fois, moi j'aime bien donner des exemples. Par exemple, moi, il y avait une fois, j'étais dans the Rocky Horror Picture Show, puis on était genre une cast de genre 30 personnes, puis ouais, il y avait beaucoup de gens. Et puis il y avait une des gens qui, they were trans. Mais dans le show, on utilisait un mot pour décrire et faire référence au cast qui était comme les the extras. And because in the movie, the film is the aliens are from Transylvania, and the extras were also presumably from there too, we would call them trannies. It's an old word that and we would say in the cast, right? Because without really thinking about it, and then so of course and it's over the years. This has been like the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Ça date des années, ça date it's super.
70?
C'est 75.
75.
75. C'est très vieux, c'est très genre archaïque comme film, mais fait qu'il y avait ce mot-là pour faire référence aux extras dans notre show. Mais c'est sûr que c'était pas un bon mot.
Oui.
Puis il y avait quelqu'un qui nous a dit, qui était trans, qui nous a dit, hey, je préfère qu'on change le mot, on peut le remplacer par n'importe quoi. Puis on était comme, hey, c'est vrai, genre, on peut le changer. On l'a changé à groupies, puis c'était bien, puis whatever.
Voilà.
Ça, parce que pour moi, personnellement, genre, moi, ça m'était égal. Le mot, utiliser le mot tranny, pour moi, c'était pas un mot que je voulais utiliser. Ça change ma vie en rien de à accommoder, genre, quelqu'un à qui ça fait mal, tu sais.
Oui. Puis, c'est parce que sur le coup aussi, on se dit, ben, c'est pas nécessairement un mauvais mot. C'est comme les gens qui vont utiliser fag pour parler comme, je peux m'appeler fag ou appeler un de mes amis you faggot, mais je vais pas dire ça à quelqu'un que je connais pas.
Ouais. Non, puis et tout le cas, on était tous queer, on était tous des weirdos dans notre communauté, mais même à ça, tu sais, on peut, même moi, on n'est pas, parce que souvent, je pense que souvent, l'argument que j'entends chez les Blancs, c'est genre, ah, mais comme, fait que moi, je peux pas dire ça, mais toi, tu peux, comme ils veulent, genre, savoir c'est quoi la limite. Toi, tu peux faire ça, mais moi, je ne peux pas faire ça. Moi, je peux dire ça, mais non, on fait tous des erreurs.
Exact.
Même juste parce que moi, je suis un POC, genre, ça ne veut pas dire que tout ce que je fais, c'est correct, c'est parfait. Mais c'est juste être capable d'être reconnaissant de ce qu'on fait, réfléchir et trouver une solution. C'est tout. Mettre son ego de côté et vraiment penser, OK, il y a ce mot-là ça dérange quelqu'un vraiment lié à leur identité en tant que personne trans. Fait que, OK, je vais juste changer le mot. Et je vais m'adapter, mais au lieu d'être comme au défensif.
Exactement, parce que c'est souvent ça. Souvent, les gens vont aller tout de suite sur la défensive, essayer d'amener leur point across.
Yeah.
Ça, c'est semi-franglais pour ceux qui ne connaissent pas. Donc, non, mais c'est comme souvent, quand je parle avec... OK, ça a un peu par rapport, mais ça a quand même un rapport, OK, guys? Listen to it, follow it, you'll understand later. C'est comme les gens qui utilisent le mot travelo, travesti pour parler des drag queens. Ça, c'est quelque chose de la vieille génération qui utilisait ça parce qu'il n'y avait pas nécessairement de différence entre travelo, travesti, drag queen. On était tous dans le même bateau. Ouais. Mais maintenant, avec le temps qui avance et la bataille pour l'identité des genres de personnes trans et non-binaires, ben, il y a eu comme cette distinction parce que les drag queens ne sont pas des transsexuels ou
Yeah.
ne sont pas nécessairement des transsexuels. Il y a des personnes trans qui font de la drague, mais ça ne veut pas dire que toutes les personnes qui font de la drague sont des trans. OK? Répétez après moi. Une drag queen n'est pas une personne trans. OK? Thank you. Non, mais c'est vrai, c'est important.
Ouais.
Tu sais, c'est le genre de petites choses que souvent on n'y pense pas. Puis, c'est des choses qui ont un grand impact sur quelqu'un.
Mais parce que je pense qu'au fond, ce qu'on oublie, ou genre. Et je pense que peut-être notre communauté, genre, en tant que queer, on est peut-être plus conscient de ça. Et même à ça, il y a des gens qui ne sont pas conscients de notre communauté, mais je pense que souvent, on oublie que, par exemple, par rapport au sujet de quelqu'un qui est trans, like, c'est une question d'identité. Que tout le monde, tout le monde a eu ou a vécu des problèmes à propos de leur identité. C'est très profond. C'est pas juste, pas juste un pronom. It's not
Non.
just ça va au-delà de ça, mais c'est juste, il faut rendre les gens conscients de ça. C'est pas juste, ah, ben, tu sais, je veux, ben, he, she, they, oh my God, I don't know what to say, yeah.
Ah,
But, OK, oui, ça change, le vocabulaire change, mais c'est important de faire cette progression parce que c'est lié à quelque chose de très. C'est plus qu'un pronom, ou c'est plus
oui.
ah, bon, t'as pas, on n'a pas eu un pied aussi dans le spectacle. It's really more important than that. I think it's important to like take a step back, puis genre réfléchir, et ne pas se sentir comme I'm not racist, I'm not homophobic. I have a gay friend, I have a black friend. Like, like it's okay. You can still have a black friend and be problematic. You can still be, it's not linked to how many black friends you have that makes you like less or more racist. Like,
Yeah, the same goes for homophobia or transphobia or queerphobia. But yes.
et par rapport à la homophobie, là, on change un peu de sujet, mais genre, même, parce que c'est tellement genre, comme ingrained in our society, homophobia and misogyny, that even as queer people, we grew up with that in us, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my
En
gosh.
tant que, yeah.
When I was a baby gay, when I was in my early 20s, I used to make fun of women's menstruations, for example, and say, oh, vaginas are disgusting or ugly. But those are things that I cannot say anymore because it is not true. Women are beautiful. Menstruations are something that is natural. So why be disgusted by it? Just because it doesn't happen to you doesn't mean that other people have it.
Ouais, puis genre, mais c'est pas, je pense que ça vient d'une comme une haine contre la femme qui est comme genre it's injected in
Yes.
us without knowing, right? So il y a beaucoup de travail à comme deconstruct
Oui,
tout
exactement.
ça parce que même moi you have homophobic thoughts and you call someone who's gay in school, tu le traites de faggot or whatever. Parce que but then avec le temps tu réalises que moi j'ai réalisé que moi je suis gay. And you start, oh yes, I'm fabulously gay. And it's important to kind of, c'est important de défaire et déconstruire toutes ces notions qui sont very insidious, insidieux, genre,
Oui.
dans la culture.
Oui.
Mais c'est vrai que chez les gens qui ne sont pas au courant de ça, c'est plus difficile de même être comme aware of it.
Oui. Puis, je trouve que qu'est-ce qui est important à retenir
But not knowing something doesn't excuse you from the work you have to do.
Very that. So, pour faire une récapitulation de ça, de ce que c'est l'appropriation culturelle, lorsque ça vous arrive, s'il vous plaît, si quelqu'un de couleur te dit « Qu'est-ce que tu es en train de faire? Ça m'offense. J'aimerais que tu arrêtes de le faire. S'il vous plaît, arrête de le faire. OK? Take a step back, prends un pas de recul, prends une grande respiration.
Mets ton ego de côté.
Mets ton ego de côté. Réfléchis un peu à ça. Prends le temps de réfléchir. vois qu'est-ce qui est correct ou pas correct, pourquoi c'est pas correct pour la personne.
Et tu n'es pas genre une mauvaise personne parce que tu as fait une erreur.
Exactement.
You're not like.
Parce que en tant qu'être humain, on apprend de nos erreurs, ou du moins on est supposé de la faire.
Ouais. En théorie, oui.
En théorie, on est supposé d'apprendre de nos erreurs, right? Donc, si quelqu'un vous dit, excuse-moi, tu ne peux pas faire ça, ben, s'il te plaît, arrête de le faire.
Yeah.
Merci, j'apprécie, je t'aime. Au revoir. Non, mais pour vrai, c'est vraiment quelque chose qui est important pour nous, pas seulement pour moi en tant qu'Anaconda ou pour Miami Minx, mais pour plusieurs performeurs ou personnes de couleur ou personnes racisées. Donc, s'il vous plaît, lorsqu'une personne vous dit ça, écoutez-les, soyez gentils.
Ne dis pas, mon ami latino m'a dit que c'était correct, parce que c'est pas parce qu'une personne d'une communauté, ça ne parle pas pour tout la communauté. We're not, in English, we're not a monolith. Like,
Yeah.
Parce que peut-être Anaconda est correct avec X blague parce que vous avez une relation comme ça. That's great. That's awesome. Mais c'est pas comme ça pour chaque autre personne. Fait que évite de dire ah, mais j'ai mon ami qui m'a dit que c'était correct pour dire ça, or whatever. Like, that's okay. You and your friend can do that, but like, that's not how that works, actually.
Et c'est pas parce que le cousin de l'ami de ton cousin, de le meilleur ami, du voisin de ta grand-mère le fait que tu peux le faire.
Yeah.
Merci. Mais sérieusement, Miami, je voulais te remercier d'avoir pris le temps de t'asseoir avec moi. Pourquoi? Parce qu'on a eu du fun et du plaisir.
Of course, naturally, always a blast with Anaconda here.
Yes. No, it's always fun having a little moment to chat with people. Donc, merci beaucoup d'avoir été là avec moi. Je trouve ça super plaisant qu'on prenne le temps en tant que performeur, en tant qu'artiste, en tant que personne inspirante et transpirante, parce qu'on transpire,
Ouais, quand même.
d'être ici avec vous. On espère que vous allez nous suivre sur nos réseaux sociaux, évidemment, @Anaconda La Sabrosa.
À Miami Ming, c'est moi. Puis genre, ouais, ben, merci beaucoup à toi, puis à vous. Moi, j'aime bien dire à place de merci beaucoup.
Thank you.
There you go. Thanks, nice ass.
Very tight. Very padded too. J'aimerais remercier nos commanditaires TV, la gang de Fierté Montréal et Dieu pour m'avoir mis au monde. Merci. Au revoir.
Merci beaucoup.